We got a major show for you today. We're going to be joined in just a few short minutes by the one and only man of the hour right now, really, Justin Swanstrom, Little Country. You may know him, the founder and editor of CompetitionPlus.com, Bobby Bennett. We're going to talk a little bit about the NHRA countdown, and we'll round out the show with a conversation with Johnny Placino, fresh off a big win in Mountain Motor Pro Stock competition at the NHRA race this past weekend at Maple Grove. Let's do this thing. Listen, I've never had any problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way. Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do. I respect the history, I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. The biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred. This is the great American motorsport. Drag racing. Prove me wrong. I'll wait. Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us here, Round Drag Racing's water cooler, if you will. We're here to talk all things drag racing, spread a little bit of the gospel of this beloved sport of ours. And I'm hearing in our green room that we're having a little bit of connection issues, so hopefully that stabilizes, guys. But so we don't get bogged down in any of that, let me go ahead and introduce my co-host here on the Wes Buck Show, JT Hudson, Mike Carpenter. What's up, boys? You doing all right? Am I fuzzy? Is that what you're saying? Are you guys saying it? We're going to have this conversation in real time. They're texting me, blowing up my text, and I'm like, I can't run the monologue. I can't do the monologue.
I thought I was just drunk. I didn't know.
Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked.
JT started out bragging about his new internet speed, and then this is what we get. But maybe it's stabilizing. You never know.
I'm getting fiber optic at my house, man.
Oh, really? Fiber internet will change your life.
I'm gonna be the only one. I'll be fiberless.
I live like in the middle of nowhere. I'm gonna get it before Mike.
Yeah. Of course you are. You probably went to like City Hall and have been,
100%.
I did. I recruited my neighbors so
yeah.
they'd
You said I gotta get it before.
I still didn't think they'd come down my road, but I thought they'd get closer. I thought they'd be within a half a mile.
Dude, I'm telling you,
maybe within a year or two.
Growing up in rural Missouri, internet has always been a thing. I remember JT and I would lose our minds. Like every Wednesday, we would have the cable company out, like trying to flag down a satellite. I'm out front with a piece of aluminum trying to catch one of these Starlink deals. We just had zero luck. And then I relocated to Texas on like day one, got fiber internet, and it's like,
it looks like it's doing great.
I guess. I don't know. Here I probably jinxed it. This conversation probably jinxed it.
We might have to.
No issues.
Yeah, you might have to leave and come back for real.
Okay, you guys, I'll be right back. Can you hold down the fort for 2 seconds?
Bullshit for
okay. Sounds like a plan.
Yep.
Man, we always want to do this. Hey, yeah, it's the Mike and JT show.
It's the Mike and JT.
We always threaten we're going to do this when Wes is running a little bit behind. We're like, let's just launch it and go.
Listen, I'm back. I'm not leaving and coming back. I'm not doing that. So I can't. If I leave, deal's over. Like if I leave, I click end and the show's over. So let's just hope it stabilizes here momentarily. How about?
I thought JT was
that
the one
bad.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, we could I could boot you.
Yeah, do that.
Will that work?
No.
Okay. This is really awkward.
It will. If you boot
pocket,
if you boot him, it's still gonna keep going.
Yeah,
I think we'll find out here in just a second.
Now you're a little better now.
It's getting better.
I even my beard up today. You're derailing the momentum of the show really quite badly. Is it better?
Did you guys have a good weekend? No, not really. Did you guys have a good weekend?
Yeah, man. We had a hell of a weekend. We were out in Vegas for a multifaceted trip, mainly to have a good time. But no, we went to the No Prep Kings event. out there in Vegas, and met with some folks out there and checked that deal out. And then really last minute got to go to the UFC event at the Sphere, which was just unreal.
Sick.
Like my mind is still blown over that deal.
I got to tell you guys, like we talked about this a little bit last week, talking about ZMAX Dragway and some of these incredible facilities. But my goodness, the strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway is absolutely phenomenal. What a incredible venue that is. It's another one of those places. Every time I go to it, I'm like, they built this for drag racing. Like it's insane to me that places like that even exist. I feel like we need to pinch ourselves, but I got to say, man, great show from No Prep Kings. Such a difficult environment to sell tickets. I mean, we've had a lot of conversations about how much of a challenge Vegas can be with all those entertainment options and a kind of a transient community. Like it's hard to penetrate that. The locals, the people that live there, it's hard to access those people, or not nearly as easy as it is to kind of get your hooks in these people that are coming and going, but typically are arriving with plans already made. So it's a real interesting thing, but boy, did they put on a hell of a show. We got to spend a bunch of time with some of our friends in the No Prep Kings world, swung by and saw Justin Swanstrom, who's going to join us in just a few minutes. Talked to him in Big Country, gave them some props for their big grudge race a couple weeks ago at Big Jake's Southern No Time Nationals. Hung out with Alex Laughlin and company, got to spend a little bit of time with Troy Coughlin and his daughter Paige, who's really come into her own, absolutely incredible to see. And I think it's really telling, and this is probably where we can start some of this conversation, is just, I think about a driver like Paige Coughlin, who a generational driver. Her grandpa has driven everything under the sun, the patriarch of the Jegs mail order empire, tremendous success, race nitro cars, the sons, Troy, Jeg Jr., all race pro stock at a high level. Mike's racing top alcohol, everything, top dragster, everything. They've all had various different entries and involvement in the sport of drag racing over the years. So I think it's safe to say Paige probably could have went wherever she wanted, right? I mean, within reason, Paige Coughlin probably could have chosen to pursue a future in Top Fuel, to pursue a future in Pro Stock. Her brothers racing in NHRA Pro Stock. So that seems like it would have been a logical progression or a logical next step for her. But I think it's really interesting that Paige Coughlin chose No Prep Kings and pursued that passion, and did so without really being a part of a favorite system or a favor system, where she was completely content to show up at No Prep Kings and earn her stripes and ultimately get that phone call.
She worked on it for 2 or 3 years too. I mean, like it was like it's probably 3 years ago when she said that's what she was going to do and started building that car, wasn't it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I mean, like Wes is saying,
we talked to her about it at PRI,
and they were kind of relishing the challenge of working your way up and not just jumping right in there on, like you said, any kind of favor system or anything like that. It was about working your way up through it, and they've had some struggles as well. The car looked fantastic this weekend. It's been repainted like what would you call that? Like a
bass boat brown is probably what I would go with, or kind of.
I'd go with
heavy,
like
a heavy
gold,
metallic
brown, like a cherry Coke or something. I don't know. Like it was like a burgundy, but
cherry
it looks
could
great.
be it.
Yeah,
I like cherry Coke could definitely be it.
I'm trademarking that deal. But she's had duct tape. That whole car last time I saw that whole car, it was duct tape, like front to back. And it just, a lot of those cars, like we've talked about, it's not easy. It's root beer. That's right, Kevin. That's what I was looking for. Root beer. My man's always got the answers. Thank you. I was like, if you ask this guy
anything, no, it's impressive. But no, I just think that her willingness to go fight the good fight, I just think it earned her a lot of street cred, because, that's a circle there's a group of guys and gals in that scene that have been there since day one, were part of that OG crew. And they, I'm not saying that they eat their young necessarily, but I don't know that they're like super eager for the next group of people to come in and contend with them and compete with them on various levels.
You wouldn't want to be,
so
really. I mean,
no, understandably, right? And I think that Paige coming in and doing it in the fashion that she did really earned her a lot of respect and admiration from the other cast members there in No Prep Kings. And it's really been incredible to see how this thing has unfolded. I mean, I don't know how many years the Street Outlaws have existed, something around 15 years maybe. And to see it at this point and hosting events at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, I was pretty impressed. Again, definitely a tough place to sell tickets, it looked like. But for the most part, we saw something really cool this weekend. And how about Justin Swanstrom going straight from a grudge race scenario where he's crew chief in or kind of serving as tuner or team owner, going to the very next outing, jumping behind the wheel of a different card and going to the winner's circle. Really impressive weekend for those guys. Got to see Cole Pez. I really pushed hard for Cole. I'm a believer in this young man. I'm a big fan of the Pez family and just everything they've done and have done over the years.
Aren't you about to root them out of their shop?
Well, I'm getting close, man. I actually went and moved my stuff. I was feeling bad. Like the old hot rod had been sitting in there taking up a bay at their shop for weeks. And I finally went and stuck it out in the trailer and just got it out of their shop. But I've got to head back over there. I got to stick a couple of batteries in. I got to do a couple of things to get ready. I'm going to change where the trans brake button's mounted. It's mounted way down on the floor, and it's just not at all comfortable or natural for me whatsoever. So I'm going to relocate that. Shout out to Doug Cook and the guys at Motion Raceworks. Sent me one of their quick release removable steering wheel kits for prime time. That's what we named it. Tom Gunner and I, prime time. The Corvette, swapped that out. And he also sent me a badass trans brake button with a spiral cord. So I'm going to mount it on the steering wheel and get a little bit more comfortable in the old girl, man.
Oh yeah, man. Look good, feel good.
Yeah, look good, feel good. So are you guys saying the show's completely unusable and we should stop and start again?
We're debating it. Only if it's recording to your hard drive would be the possible savior.
Good question. Okay, well, let's just can it and we'll be right back with Justin Swanstrom.
Well, or just
try booting him, JT. Dude,
yeah,
try doing that just to try to keep it going. Then
this is going to feel really good. You ready?
He always wanted to do this.
Oh my God. You ready for this, Wes? Ready?
I'm bracing.
On 3, 1. See ya.
But no, he's still there. You're still in the green room. You got to go all the way out.
I'm going to kick him.
Okay.
Oh, it won't let me kick him out.
It won't let you boot him totally out.
Oh man, see.
Knew it, loser. You can't get rid of me. I probably paying this shit's on my credit card. Guaranteed.
True.
Guaranteed that I'm getting the bill from StreamYard. Guaranteed. You think they're going to let you run me off like that? I just don't see any way. Yeah, Dana Turner gets it. YouTube gets it. That's the thing that's happening here is our fans.
All right. Well, then I guess nuclear option is the only. Nuclear option is the only.
Is it that bad?
Or audio, just audio.
I'm hearing tons of people tell me it's okay. Okay. Well, hey, here's what we're gonna do.
Hey, I can hear you
in
fine.
5 minutes.
We can hear you fine.
I can hear you fine.
Blurry buck in the bushes. Okay, let's just end and come back. JT, you start the stream.
Did you actually leave completely?
If I leave studio, okay, completely.
Bye. Let's see what it does.
Let's just see what it does. If not, we'll come back, right? Yeah. Hey, I think we're still here.
There we go. See, we're learning.
We're still alive.
We're learning on the fly here, guys. We've been using this software for about 5 years now. We still, we've always been afraid to whoever starts the stream can't leave, but apparently you can. Maybe this is some kind of new improvement.
I have kind of figured out though that if you start the stream, I think it's what screws you up.
Oh, it kills your internet
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, probably so. What'd you do this weekend? What'd you do this weekend, JT?
I had a full weekend, man. I played.
You always have a full weekend. Yeah. We don't have to worry about that.
I played night golf on Friday night, and then went to the bar, and then had a big party. My buddy down the road had a huge party for his birthday. Luke, happy birthday! He had a band. It was awesome. And then we woke up Saturday, started cooking, had a bunch of people over for the Chiefs game. Well, we had people over for all the games.
This is just a typical weekend for you. Nothing special.
We went pretty hard. I mean, I actually thought it was a weekend where I didn't have anything going on. So I thought, man, I'm going to get a bunch of shit done.
Yep. You know who actually saw when we were out on Saturday after the
Man, I got some videos from him. Keith Berry.
The one, the only.
I about uploaded the video that you sent me to this.
No matter what, even when you're not there, you still have moles everywhere that you can keep track of us.
Oh man, he sent me a video. You guys were partying pretty hard.
We did, man. We met some folks, and they really took care of us. So awesome. We had a good time there.
Yeah, but the No Prep Kings thing, how'd you enjoy that? I mean, was that your second or third time going to one?
That's a good question. Yeah, probably so. I mean, I think I've been to Darlington, and I've been to a couple others, but yeah, like Wes was saying, that's actually they just kind of they've found their spots that I think really work for them, where the fans are, like Wes was saying, clamoring for that deal, follow it, like just the deal in Canada or whatever. So that one, it's like figuring out which ones work, which ones don't. But I think that one was cool. It was, in my opinion, well attended considering Las Vegas, and that place is so big.
So big.
Yeah. So and again, we were out there Friday. Saturday was a much bigger crowd, much bigger show. We didn't get a chance to get out there on Saturday, but
what's
definitely
the
saw
biggest
some
difference you think between you went back when it was full production compared to now? I mean, what do you think is the biggest difference?
It's probably more relaxed now, and I think they're probably able to run the race as they see fit, as a typical race schedule. There was a lot of times
instead of being on a filming schedule,
right, where you would go and being someone that's so used to just typical drag races, like and so many of us are, it doesn't follow the cadence or the schedule that a typical drag race would, and it's really built around, all right, we've got something just happened over here, we need to go make sure we get all that B-roll or all those interviews, and then they will resume racing. So especially on a Friday when it's less programmed, that's more of what they would focus on, and you would not see that so much while you were there, but then when you watch the actual TV show, you would see, oh, okay, that's why they did that, that's why this happens. So again, it's a super tough thing to bridge that gap, and I think that they do a terrific job of that. Like Sam and his whole production crew really bridge that gap between an actual TV show and a race, which they lean so hard to the TV production originally, didn't really have to worry about running an actual event. Then when you kind of marry the two, it's definitely a concern. And we see this with NHRA when they go live on Fox and they have to sort of adjust their schedule or really hot lap these things and round robin it. You wonder what the hell's going on, but it's because they're, a lot of times at the mercy of the TV show. So, that's a really tough thing, and something that we faced also with our Flow Racing stream of World Series of Pro Mod, and especially the Pro Superstar Shootout this past year. That it's tough. It's really tough to keep that race humming, and on schedule for the
especially when you get down to the finals and or semifinals and there is some dead time there on the track, and you hate for those fans to leave.
Right.
Or to not be in their seats when the next set come up. So
yeah. And then when you're doing special stuff like chip draws, like we do at our races, or like the MPK guys do, that adds another element to it. So to me, it's more interesting to see all that stuff going on behind the scenes than to be there and just watching, what you would call a typical drag race.
Mm-hmm. We got several of our boys already down at the Flying H racetrack for the race this weekend.
Yep, and I got that going on. Man, there's a ton of stuff going on.
There is.
We're getting into that point of the season.
In your backyard.
Yep.
NHRA race, right? So
yeah, we got the NHRA Carolina Nationals at ZMAX Dragway.
Are you gonna make it out there?
Yep. I'm gonna be out there Friday and Saturday. We'll have Rick Belden out there shooting photos, doing our deal like we normally do on Friday. So looking forward to that. We'll have a golf cart. Shout out to Gary Palinkas, Gary's Carts. I got to give my man his love. Always.
How have you not bought a golf cart off Gary yet?
Oh, man, I need to.
You told me you wanted one.
Yeah, Christian is wearing me out. You know how he is about golf carts.
Yeah, I mean that's your guy right there.
When I'm buying one, I'm buying one from Gary. I might just drive the one home that he lets me borrow for this weekend. Just load it up. But now, Gary, check out Gary's Carts. I believe it's Gary'sCarts.com. Yep. He supplies carts to a lot of teams out there now. You see a ton of his carts. They're awesome. I mean, the ones that I borrow usually are like these badass ones with the huge battery that will absolutely haul ass. So he's got some really nice ones. Looking forward to seeing all those guys and looking forward to having Pro Mod out there. It was really weird to go to ZMAX in the spring and there was no Pro Mod. So got to have Pro Mod when you're in the Carolinas. And we got big news on that Pro Mod front with Travis Harvey.
Oh yeah.
Breaking news. Travis Harvey filling in for Khaled Al Belushi this weekend.
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
Oh yeah. And I think that I'm sure we're going to talk about this with Swanstrom and these guys when they get on here, but I really feel we talked about it last week with Travis. He's gone. I mean, I don't want to say he was like a local secret or anything, but he's kind of worked his way up through the ranks and is now obviously running at the highest levels with Big Dog, PDRA, Pro Boost. But that deal a couple weekends ago, I think, took him to another level and really put him on the map. And I think that probably got into these guys, the Bahrain 1 team, when they, or any of these teams, when they need a fill in, they're going to be looking his way now. So his profile has leveled up here, especially in the last couple of years, but no doubt after what happened over the course of the last couple of weekends. So looking forward to seeing that guy behind the wheel of a quarter mile NHRA Pro Mod and doing battle with some of the best drivers and levers that are in the game. So
he'll do well at it.
Yeah, I mean
he does well.
I'm sure he's never even laid eyes on this damn car, and he's going to get into it.
That's crazy.
Friday and be like
I don't feel
0-12.
comfortable even like my personal driver. It takes me a while to get comfortable with the vehicle, and you go like that way with quads or motorcycles and race cars and whatever. You almost get a relationship between yourself and whatever you're driving, right?
You have
and
to.
He can just hop in whatever and just I'm good.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about with him last week, man. How he's able to just jump into these things, different. Because like we said, he's a tall guy. The car's not necessarily built for him. Pedal placement, seat location, steering column, the whole deal. And he's just like, I just make it work. So that really just speaks to the level of his talent. But yeah, back to Flying H, man. We're gonna be having some people out there. Craig's going out there. Are you heading out there?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm gonna
try to go all of our tomorrow. All of our Kansas City locals are gonna be heading out to Flying H for the SmackDown, which they're testing right now. I believe Jay Warren is doing some.
I think Jay is doing some
live streaming from there. What do you expect to see out of that deal?
I don't know, man. What do you think? I mean, a lot of money up for grabs.
Man, yep. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to stop Mark Dickey.
I hate that the NHRA Pro Mod's going on the same weekend. It just takes a lot of cars or drivers, cars, tuners.
Yeah, I don't know how much overlap there truly is between all that. I mean, it seems. I think that the Midwest deal has got its pretty tried and true guys that run that deal. Which,
no, I get that, but when you put that kind of money up on the line, mean, but then you got to make these guys choose between one or the other. And if you're running for points, then you've got to go to the NHRA, right? So,
yeah, I think so. But like I said, I don't know how many. I mean, it'd be interesting to kind of sit down and look at that, see how much crossover there would have been had there not been an NHRA race. But the entry list, you see a ton of hitters on there, a lot of guys that run that series in a dedicated capacity, and then you've got some guys like Spencer Hyde making the trip out. Jason Harris, it's escaping me for a minute, but Jason Harris is heading out there. Spencer
sent me a text earlier, said I could hang out in these pits and bring a lawn chair and whatever.
That's good, man. Yeah, it's going to be good to see Spencer out there, and it's cool to see these guys. Derek Ward's going to be out there, like representing, and in a lot of the promotional stuff you've seen for that event as well, like representing World Series of Pro Mod as past champions, and kind of bringing that into it with them. That they've competed in these huge events, they've competed for this kind of money before, and are used to that pressure and that stage and how that'll play in. We talked with Derek and Jim Halsey about how that played out at Cecil County when they were racing for 50 grand, but this is taking it obviously to another level here. So,
Kevin Stevenson here says that party time was 365 low ET so far.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the weather. You didn't give me time. This whole snafu with Wes didn't give me time to check my weather forecast,
man,
for the weekend to see what's going on. But it looked pretty good from what I saw like a couple of days ago.
It's pretty nice here right now. I'll look real quick.
Yeah, it's supposed to be solid here in Charlotte too. We're getting into record setting season, as they say. But yeah, this is when you see all the events plopped on the calendar as well. Everybody, September and October, and really even into early November now is when everybody's getting after it.
It's gonna be pretty hot. 91, 91, 95, 90.
90
on Saturday. 95 on Friday.
95.
Yeah.
Is that, are you looking at the right thing?
I'm looking at Kansas City. Close enough, right?
It was not that hot when I looked at it previously. But that'll be interesting, man. I mean, again,
the nighttime temps have been pretty good here. I mean,
yeah.
But they're still pretty high, too, for Kansas City for this time of year. 73, 71, 72, and then Saturday night, 66.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, a lot of times we're looking already. We're planning for the Winter Series, obviously, getting ready for how that's we got an update from Wes. He says he can't get back online. Man, I hope that these guys hope these guys are ready for the Mike and JT show today, the debut.
Shoot. Time to use his phone. I will.
I've seen that on McAfee before. He like lost his internet and then he just had to go on the phone. But what was I saying? Oh yeah. So we're taking a look at Cecil County, this race this weekend, and just really as we march toward December, January, and then March for the World Series of Pro Mod, how everything is stacking up. We've been in talks with John Sears and our rules committee and just trying to really get a hold of what these combinations are going to look like this year, because it changes every year. And I think we've got our hands full this year more than ever as far as getting these rules leveled out and making sure it's a level playing field for all these combinations, because that's really, obviously outside of PDRA where they separate Pro Nitrous and Pro Boost, we're at a point where we're throwing all these combinations together at all these events, and these rule packages have to be right. So that, especially our events, when you've got all that stuff going on, all the lead up, everyone's invested in it. We've got to have the level playing field for these
you guys
teams.
Be nice. You guys be nice to my boy Mark Mickey, okay?
We are. We absolutely are. We love Mark Mickey as much as anybody around here, man. And he loves us, the original Drag Illustrated advertiser. So
I'm
there
back.
he is. Are you back on? Are you on your phone, or is this full blown?
This is full blown. So is it look good?
Yeah.
It's
I think so. What the hell was going on?
Your guess is as good as mine, tech guy. I don't know. It's always something, it seems like. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. But no, we've just good. We're back in action. I didn't know if you guys would still be here.
Yeah, we already covered everything.
Oh, dude, yeah.
So
that's
all
a
right,
wrap.
let's just hey guys, it was great having you here today.
This is the same way we do our conference calls too. Like Wes, if he's like 15, we'll just try to hurry through it and then get off of there before Wes even gets on. But no, we were just talking about,
if I'm on the call, it's going to last an hour. So
yeah, that's right. We were just talking about all the racing going on right now. That we're at a point in the season where the calendar is just stacked up with the races. Obviously, talking about NHRA this weekend. We talked about the Travis Harvey news and everything going on out at Flying H, and really a lot of our DI staff not only being in Charlotte but being out there at Flying H.
Yeah, man. I saw in the comments that 365 from Jason Harrison, the Party Time Camaro, is low ET. I honestly think Jason Harris is due to win one of these big races. I just feel like he has been a consistent hitter. He's obviously had a little bit of a slow start to the season in PDRA competition, but he really looked good at World Series in 23, looked great at World Series in 24, got a really fast car, and then he rolls into the PDRA Pro Stars event in the heat of the summer, takes out the field, wins the race, and I really think he's poised right now. Like obviously I think all eyes are on Mark Mickey right now, but 100-pound swing in combinations, it's going to be interesting to see how things go with Mark Mickey after all these rule changes. I know they've made some changes to the combination to have it be a little more favorable rule-wise, weight-wise, and it's going to be interesting to see where they're able to pick up. I mean, they had basically a 360 bracket car that could dip into the 350s with relative ease, it would seem, and you go hanging 100 pounds on that combination and upsetting the apple cart that's existed for I talked to Mark a couple of weeks ago, and he told me that they'd made nearly 200 runs on that car since World Series. And if you think about how much time at the racetrack that is, not passes.
No way. You? Yeah, I thought that was just me. Oh man. All right, Wes.
Well, I might still be down here in the green room.
Yeah, let's get on.
Mike's favorite person in the world, old Cornbread.
Let's do that. Maybe we'll start out. We'll start out telling the Cornbread story. That'd be a good way to start.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's up?
So actually, the Cornbread story, there's a little nickname that goes on between myself and Charles and Michael. And we were all in Houston, Texas. It was raining. There wasn't any racing. We were sitting in we had a Residence Inn. I think Cornbread was like, Mike was like in the 7th grade or something. And we were sitting there and we were watching that movie Life with Eddie Murphy and
good movie. Yeah.
All that. And we were sitting there and said, "You gonna eat your cornbread?" And then they got to fighting over the cornbread, and well, it just kind of stuck. So everybody's been cornbread.
They always want to know. Everybody that sees me and you call each other that want to know where that came from. So I'm glad to finally clear that up for everybody.
Yeah, nobody's authorized officially to say cornbread but me. Charles said,
yeah,
I do it all the time.
Oh yeah, that's all he calls me. His name, if you know JT's name in our fantasy league is Cornbread Kryptonite. That's what I don't know if you know that, if you recognize that, Bobby.
That's a pretty
his
good
name.
name.
Ought to be 0-2.
Oh shit,
Bobby, you probably forget to set your lineup.
Yeah, if you wouldn't have said something, I didn't even realize that league was still going. So when you said something on one of my posts,
you know it's going because you're mad because you got McCaffrey first pick.
Yeah, but I've got him in two other big leagues. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't hate this guy anymore right now.
Well, how's that working out for you?
Yeah. I'm loving that part of it.
Yeah, I mean, if I had 8 IR spots, on all these leagues, it would be great.
Yeah,
because my whole team is just trash at the moment.
So
what are you up to, Bob?
Yeah, let's talk about Bobby Bennett, the legendary founder and editor. He's got the big 25 up there on his cap, representing 25 years of CompetitionPlus.com, which
impressive.
Obviously a huge feat in itself. The originator here of online magazines for drag racing. So what is new? I know you got big news coming around the corner. So what's the latest going on at Competition Plus?
Well, we've got when we get all the details worked out and the things going from point A to point B in record time, then we will have a new website up. But it's going to be perfect before it goes up. But yes, we spent 5-figure money on a brand new website to bring us into the modern era.
Well, besides that, I mean, what, between 1999 and now, what have you seen change about this industry? I mean, I'm sure you could say everything, but what are you doing at this point, or, what takes Competition Plus into the future, and what's changed, or what maybe has caught you off guard about this industry that's changed so much since you started in 1999 and bringing it here into 2024?
Well, you really have to reinvent yourself every year. I mean, what's good one year is not good the next year. So you have to reinvent it, all the while maintaining what you're doing. Lord, guys, don't look at my dirty office, because I'm telling you, it's been daddy day.
Man, look at that. You got the classic arcade game. Got the same red line clock.
Hold on. Red line clock. That's an invoice for Mark.
We're sending Mark an invoice. Appreciate that, Bobby.
Yeah. We just welcomed in about 3 months ago our first great-grandchild, believe it or not. And so it's been like a village here. Everybody's had to pitch in, even old great-grandpa, to help little Scooter here come into the modern era and into this world. But anyway, one thing about, from the time we started, our goal was from day one was to create legitimate journalism on the internet, which was like a wild, wild west when we started. and this is back in 1999. Of course, the first guy we go to sell an ad to, he says, "How you gonna sell me an ad to a magazine I can't take to the crapper with me?" So you have to convince them that the technology is advancing to the point that within 5 years you're going to be looking at the internet not on your desktop computer but on your cell phone.
I was going to say we solved that problem. Everybody goes to the bathroom with their phone now, so we solved that issue. We're getting that. We're getting the news in the bathroom no matter what.
I think the biggest challenge was integrating the world of journalism with social media, which is not journalism. That's pretty much a wild, wild west of what we came into when we started. Because remember, when we started, there was nothing but dial-up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can imagine. We had video on competitionplus.com back in 1999, which was about postage size.
Yeah, that's all you could get away with.
You'd have to wait 30 minutes to watch a 2-minute video.
This is still on dial-up, as you've seen today.
Yeah, that's the thing about this technology, man. That's about this technology's beautiful until it really trips you up. So it definitely has its pitfalls, but you were limited by that technology back then. Actually, Blake, our producer in the green room, we were just talking about this when we've sent him to the track and done video production, just getting the footage uploaded back to him or him uploading it to whoever, that part of the process is so time consuming. And video editing and production, we could talk about that with our next guest as well, Justin Swanstrom. That is such a time consuming process, and we take it for granted now. Everything is video. We want video content for everything. So it's really, supplanted the written word or even photography. Everyone wants video, but the resources, whether it be, processor, internet speed, and just the time to edit that video is so intensive that a lot of people take that for granted. And I'd say that's the biggest thing that's changed even in our business as well.
Oh yeah, and people are asking, so when's the next episode of Legends coming out? And I'm like, well, when I get an extra 60 hours to throw around, because that's about what it takes to edit one of those. I'm telling you, by the time I get through with an episode of that, I am so tired of looking.
So did I join a conversation about how hard all y'all work? Because I'll just go turn my internet back off.
Yeah, and internet fails.
Everybody works so hard. No, I'm just playing, Bob.
Yeah,
did I miss
people that struggle with internet?
Compliment you on your dial-up connection there.
Well, I hopefully we're on the
other
side.
Good now.
You're good now, bud. You're good.
I don't even know what to say. I'm like so frustrated. I literally broke my hand punching my desk. I'm like, mother. But anyways, we're all good, man. Did we get an opportunity to congratulate you, Bobby? 25 years.
We did.
Competitionplus.com, man. I just wanted to be on here telling you congratulations, dude. I know we could spend a lot of time talking about how hard you three work. There's probably not enough hours in the day to really break down, how much you guys do. But I would like to talk. Have we discussed the countdown to the championship yet? Because I think that
we were talking about Bobby's got a new site launching soon. We were talking about that, and probably the biggest remake of competitionplus.com that you've had yet. Just talking about technology. So, but no, let's dive into the countdown.
Well, and we can dive into the countdown, and I don't want to make Justin wait too long, but I do think that this is worth talking about because, and honestly, JT,
why don't we bring Justin on and take my spot?
What? Justin's, and Justin's, ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, Grudge racer extraordinaire, fresh off a huge win in Las Vegas at No Prep Kings, the one, the only Justin Swanstrom. What's up, little country?
How y'all doing?
We're doing good, brother. Well, hey, man, the topic of conversation, this actually will be fun to have a multitude of viewpoints here because the No Prep King series introduced something of a countdown to the championship, if you will, in 2024 with their No Prep Kings Elite series that is underway or that is about to get underway. We've got a handful of cars. I believe the top 16 in points move on into these big money races that work towards the championship at the end of the season. And I guess I know, Justin, that you're not necessarily a huge NHRA fan, but this is there is a notion that has existed in NHRA professional drag racing since, correct me if I'm wrong, Bobby, 2007? thereabouts, I think, is when the countdown
I think 07 was it.
When it was introduced, and it met mixed reviews, right? It was one of those things that it felt like our sport was following in the footsteps of NASCAR, which is something we've been very transparent about. If they've got an idea that looks like it's working well, drag racing is typically quick to adopt it. But it seems some different iterations over the years. And its most current format, Bobby penned a really incredible editorial. One of my favorite things about competitionplus.com, and I scream this all the time, we need more opinionated content in drag racing. There's a whole lot of people that have opinions, many of which are valid and interesting and all these things, but they don't quite have like the gusto to put them out to the world for fear of persecution or hearing about it. And obviously, Justin, that's something that you're not at all afraid of, putting your thoughts and opinions out there. But Bobby, would you just kind of bring us up to speed on kind of your perspective on the NHRA countdown to the championship and where we're at here in 2024? A lot of hubbub last couple of weeks. Some guys, on the outside looking in on the heels of their career best years. I'm talking about Paul Lee and Nitro Funny Car, of course, but there's a multitude of storylines that exist as it relates to the countdown. So what's your lay of the land right now, Bobby? You're saying we need change.
We definitely need a change. I mean, the countdown, when it came in, it served its purpose. It shook up the apple cart. It gave us something new to do. It created excitement exactly as it was intended to do, and that was to create excitement right down to the wire. But let's look at it for what it is. It's manufactured excitement, okay? It's not organic, okay? So the thing that I have a problem with the countdown now is you get in the playoffs just by going to every race. Now, to me, being a diehard Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, like Cornbread over here is a Carolina Panthers, a modern-day version of the 1970s.
Why do you got to do that to me?
Is that under the NHRA's playoff system, the first year Tampa Bay Buccaneers that went 0-14 would have went into the playoffs just for showing up for every game. All right, so
and it is like. Yeah, it doesn't reward performance the way that it should. It's too, but I think that for me, and I appreciate what you're saying, and I'm just curious, Justin, like just your thoughts on this new concept that was introduced in No Prep Kings. I mean, because I've had a lot of texts from drivers in the series that are like some of the more prominent faces that are committed to the full-time deal that aren't having the year they thought, and now they kind of find themselves on the outside looking in. Is it tough titty? Or what do you think about this new format, Justin?
I like it. If it was up to me, it would be a 16-car field every race. Just part of it. I feel like it's one less round, and you get the best of the best. That's how you would play it out. So this year we got introduced to the No Prep Elite, where Michigan's our last race next weekend. And whoever's the top 16 in points will run the final 4 races for the championship. I like that. I just don't know how the format's going to be. Like, if it was up to me, I would hope that once we get done with Michigan, I hope the top 16 that are in points, all points go back to 0. Like, that's what I'm praying for. But if it doesn't, we don't know the format of what it's going to be. But all around, I think it gives the drivers a drive to want to do better throughout the season and try to win races, try to win rounds, and try to get into that top 16. There's a lot of people that are outside that 16 right now that need to step it up, and if they don't, then they're going to be sitting at home watching us race. So it's definitely made competition tougher, and that's one good thing that we got going on right now. I can honestly say that MPK this year, the competition's as tough as it's ever been. There's a lot of side-by-side racing. There's a lot of combos that are winning. So that's going to be helpful for us. But all around, I like the 16-car field deal.
Do you think, Bob, like I actually agree with you on a lot of points there, Justin, but I do think that there's like 2 things to consider. Is that, Bobby, you talked about trying to use these point reset type of situations or playoff formats to generate excitement. And I think it absolutely does. Like, in how many times can we talk about the last several seasons in a row? You've got a nail biter at the end of the year, and it makes those last races much more meaningful than perhaps they would have been pre-countdown, when you've got some runaway freight trains that end up having the deal locked up in September or whatever. But I do think, like, do you think that the NHRA's move to include, like, and I don't mean to say this, disrespectfully, but like the participation trophy thing, was that not rooted in participation? That's certainly how I read it, is that it's like they're trying to excessively reward people that commit to running the whole season. And I think that that's like kind of the overall thing, is sanctions and series, be it No Prep Kings, be it NHRA or whomever else. What you're really looking for is a year-long commitment from your racers. You don't want to wonder when they're coming. Do you agree, Bobby?
I agree to a point, but I have to say that the points reset, and this is no disrespect to anybody or anything or any other series, I'm speaking wholly on NHRA, that the reset of the points reeks of socialism. You take away somebody who has done very well and give it to people who haven't done well. And the participation trophy, for instance, the three guys that leapfrogged Paul Lee combined, they had 6 round wins, and 4 of those belonged to Cruz Pedregon. Paul Lee had 8 round wins, and he fell into number 11. But with the points reset, he went all the way down to 14, and these guys passed him. So my idea was not to take away from anybody, but to give incentives to the guys who run all the races naturally, organically, are going to make it in the top 10, if not the second 5 after the top 10. In the top 15, you can't help but do that. So my idea was rooted on, I don't know, put nitrous to the program, whatever, in the regular season at Brainerd. And anybody that finishes in the top 10, give them double points from that point on. Anybody that finishes 11 to 20, give them points and a half. Anybody in the third quarter, whatever, they can just get single points because they weren't that committed to coming in there. And it will work out on its own. Yeah, you're going to have to work harder if you're getting points and a half to overcome double points, but it can be done. And that way, somebody could actually jump up into the top 10 instead of somebody, just because they're in the top 10, skating through and finishing in the top 10. And if you want to throw an extra bonus to it, if you do get into the top 10, then you get double points. If you fall out, then you drop down to points and a half. There's so many ways you can do it without having to take away points that somebody has earned.
Yeah, I really can't argue that, because I think the conversation in this, Justin, this is where I'd love to, I mean, if you can talk about the commitment that is required, because what we're talking about it's NHRA professional drag racing, 22 races a year. It's a grind. No Prep Kings. How many races do you have this year, Justin? 16, 18 total?
18.
18 total events. I mean, many of the people out there watching and listening, they understand. I mean, we're blessed here to have a really hardcore audience of people that spend their weekends at the racetrack, tow up and down the highways and byways of America. Like, that's what we've really tried hard to build here, is a hardcore following of people that are like invested in our sport. They're stakeholders in our sport. But I don't know that enough can be said about the commitment that is required to go to 18 events. I mean, Justin, I'm sure you and your dad have to have some conversations about how insane this is to be racing this often. I mean, you made a really interesting post on social the other day, just explaining the lay of the land. You're fresh off this big Grudge race with Fletcher Cox and Jason Mahalik. Everybody in our sport's talking about it. I don't know that I've seen anything really cut through the noise like that singular run. But I mean, you had to make it clear, like, hey, I can't run it back next weekend or go rent a track Tuesday. I got 6-8 more races to run, and I'm committed to them.
And I am. And I'm pretty upfront and honest about my program and what I do. And I'm on contract, so I would love to, run that deal back that same night. I mean, nobody came and got with me and said, let's race right now. I mean, we could have ran that race back that night. But I am committed to NPK. NPK is my bread and butter. That's where, I do most of my racing at. This other racing that I do, I don't want to play it off as like we're just playing around. because, it's strong racing. We're going up against strong competitors, but it's not what I really do every day throughout the year. I've been running NPK for so this will be my fourth season. So the last 3 years, this is my fourth year. And it's a lot different racing, but I did want to jump back into the no time stuff because that's kind of where I came from. I've done almost every part of racing you can think of, from every class, from Pro Mod to Radio versus the World, down to X275 and Ultra Street. I mean, I've done everything. So, grudge racing back in the day, I wanted to get back to that. So I told Dad I had Prenup as the car that I ran in the previous year for NPK. I was in the process of building the new car, the '69 Camaro. I said, let's put it on radials and let's go see if we can have some fun with it. It started out in the beginning of the year. We won Orlando. We came out. We won Bradenton at U.S. Street Nationals, no time race. We beat David Reese in the finals. We moved on from there. We had to start getting ready for NPK. We started running NPK. We did good. We came out strong. I won, I believe, the third or fourth race at Empire Dragway for NPK. So that helped me out tremendously there. And then we kind of went into a little, dry spell. We were having some issues. We were trying to just figure the car out. It was a new car, getting everything ready. But going back to Prenup, I didn't want to just sitting around, and I wanted to get back to the no time stuff. So I did find out that Lance Stafford was having a few events. Jake Harper was having a few events, and it didn't correlate with my NPK schedule. So I was able to go to them. If there's an event on top of NPK, of course I'm going to be at NPK because one, that's what I do for a living, and two, I'm on contract. I have to be there. And I've been good about. I've made every race since I started with NPK. I've been very strong about that. I tell people all the time, there's a lot of people that save a lot of money and save time to come out. And if it's to see me, Ryan Martin, Murder Nova, or the event, they spend hard-earned money to be able to come out there and do that. So I am very adamant about making every race. And I think I've proven that time and time again. Even, hopefully I never get in a wreck again. But when I wrecked the car, we built the car back in 3 days. We tried to make the next event because there was a lot of fans that wanted to see me, wanted to see my team. And that's where we were committed to. And I told everybody I'd do that. So knock on wood, but so far in 3 years, going on, this is my fourth year now, I have made every single NPK event, and it's awesome to be a part of. But with Prenup, I wanted to run some of the small tire stuff because I didn't want to just let the car sit around. And when we started winning some events, and then we were talking about going out to Jake's race, it started getting a little bit of buzz. We used to do a lot of, match racing and grudge racing and the NPK stuff. That kind of stuff started getting away. I mean, if I ask somebody to grudge race and they want to run for some money, then we do that. But it ain't nothing like, it's not like a forced on deal where if I go to a no time event, I know I'm going to run somebody for some kind of money. And how I run my program, I have to rely on that money to be able to keep my program running. So that's where, I want to be able to start doing that and do more of it. So I started winning some races. I said, you know what? Prenup actually works pretty good on a radial tire car. So if I can make some of these events without it messing with my NPK schedule, that's what we're going to do. And we were able to do it. We came out on top. We were able to accomplish probably one of the biggest grudge races in history. I don't know if there's another grudge race out there that's bigger than that one was. The way it laid out, the way everything happened. Luckily, I came up on the upper end of the stick, and then I got to move on to go over to NPK the following weekend in Las Vegas, and I got lucky to be able to win that event too. So I've had a pretty good, outstanding last couple of weeks of racing.
Justin, one of the things I want to talk to you about is, and Bobby, I'd like to get your opinion on this as well, because I would love to hear some of your perspective on how this whole thing played out last weekend. We had Travis Harvey on here and Jake Harper last week and got to hear some of their insights on how this whole thing unfolded. And I'd love to get it from the horse's mouth and kind of what the future plans are. But I think the big story here for me is that, and I mean, no disrespect to anybody else that was at the Southern No Time Nationals, the 7th annual running of Big Jake shootout at Extreme Raceway Park. But I think that the fans would have been satisfied if all they saw for their price of admission was that one race. If all they saw was that singular event, I think they would have been satisfied. I know I would have been. And I'm just curious, like, do you see, and Bobby, I'd love for you to kind of piggyback on this notion, because you were witness to a lot of the early door slammer match racing glory days. And I got to tell you guys, I've been saying this for months. I really think we're staring down the barrel of a new world in drag racing. And I think there is an opportunity as more of these stars and more of these drivers build their own personal brands. I mean, Justin, there's perhaps no better example than you right now, but I think of other people like Lyle Barnett, Stevie Jackson, J.R. Gray, Clay Millican, Antron Brown. Like, there's a lot of guys that have really developed a personal brand that kind of supersedes their racing. I mean, Antron Brown was in Washington talking to Congress not too long ago. I mean, you got Alex Laughlin on all these different shows, yourself on all these different shows. Drivers are beginning, thank God, to carry more weight than the cars do. Do you think that there's an opportunity? I mean, could you imagine a future, Justin, where you're part of events where you're there not to try to qualify for a 16-car field, or not to try to win 5 or 4 rounds of racing. You're there to run one guy. Do you think that that's possible? I mean, I was at the UFC fight, UFC 306, the Sphere, this past weekend in Las Vegas. And I was just, as I watched it unfold, I couldn't help but like get excited about the notion of, instead of Sean O'Malley versus the other guy, or, you know, it's Justin Swanstrom versus, you know, Fletcher Cox, or Travis Harvey versus Jason Mahalik, or Stevie Fast Jackson versus Lyle Barnett. I mean, I look back at the NHRA Pro Mod race this past weekend, and or in Indy, and think about the first round matchup we had between Lyle Barnett and Stevie Jackson. There was more talk about that first round matchup than probably any other round of Pro Mod racing. I mean, do you think that's something that could happen in the future, Justin, where you're not on contract to go try to qualify? You're on contract to go beat this one guy and be rewarded if you do so.
Yes and no. I mean, like I said, it would depend on, you know, where MPK goes and what all of that plays out, how it plays out. So, you know, that being said, I can see us doing that because I like the grudge race. I like to put up my own money. And that's where I see someone made a post on the other day talking about, I guess there was a big bracket race that just happened, and there was a bunch of entries. I think it was like 500 grand or something like that. And somebody has said, why didn't it get the exposure as the $100,000 grudge race in Texas? And I put on there, and I got to tell people all the time, I don't care what type of racing you do. I don't care what it is. If you're racing, you're having fun, then you're good in my book. But like I explained to them, I think it was a little bit different because you had 2 team owners put up their own money of 100 grand. When you're speaking of NHRA Pro Mod and, you know, PDRA and all that, yes, them guys spend a lot of money, but I don't know what entry fee is. We're just going to throw a number out there. Say entry fees $1,000 to get in. You're spending $1,000 to win that $10,000 pot. When you put 10 grand or 20 grand of your own money on one single pass, it changes everything. It changes the atmosphere. It changes everything that goes with your program. You got to make sure everything is on point. And even though them guys and girls make sure their stuff's on point, it's just a different type of feeling when you're running for your own money rather than running for a prize purse. Like I was more nervous, and I wouldn't say I was nervous because I knew I had a good car and I was going to run for that kind of money and I was okay with it. But I was more like worried about the $100,000 grudge race than I was running for the $100,000 shootout. Like once I won the $100,000 grudge race, I'm not gonna lie, I could have just loaded up and went home.
Well, like, you and the rest of the planet, man. I mean, Bobby and I know guys that have spent their entire career racing 20, 30 years and never raced for that kind of bread. Bobby, what was your initial reaction? I'm sure you saw all this unfolding on the internet. And like, when you think about, I mean, all the drag racing that you've seen in your day, and I'm treating you like you're 700 years old. I apologize, Bobby, but no. Do you think? I mean, what do you make of that? I mean, when you see something like that, one run for $100 grand.
Look, I have been in drag racing since before either one of you guys have been born. So yes, I am 700 years old, and the life that we live in drag racing is like dog years. So I might be 57, but I'm probably close to 300 and something years old. But look, when there's money on the line and there's big money on the line, I've seen Don Garlitz run Shirley Muldowney. I've seen John Forrest run Al Hoffman. I've seen all of this. But I'm going to tell you what, when I see a good old-fashioned grudge race, it just warms me to the core. I love that. That might not be my focus of my publication of what I cover, but that does not mean that I don't have a lot of respect for what guys like Justin do and their whole form of racing. I mean, it's incredible. Anything that you do in drag racing takes so much skill and so much effort. And just because I don't cover every bit of these forms of racing doesn't mean that I don't have the highest of respect for what these guys do. Because I'm going to tell you what, I couldn't do it.
Oh,
I don't know that I would even try to do it. I mean, what these guys do, shoot. Rather than to race Justin in a match race or a grudge race, I'd rather sandpaper a Wildcats button a telephone booth. It just something I just would not do, you know. But, you know, that's okay. You know, I hear these guys say, oh, 1,000-foot racing, that's not drag racing. 8-mile racing, that's not racing. Look, I learned to appreciate drag racing on all forms from the time I was a kid. Drag racing is drag racing, and it's the greatest sport in the world.
The great American motorsport.
Baseball or NFL football, or even back when wrestling was real. You know, I was hoping I'd get a rise out of you on that when we
hey, man, I still
but
think pro wrestling's real. Try to tell Triple H otherwise. This shit is real as the day is long. No, it's 100% real.
Boy, they're not real wrestling.
That's true. Justin, do you think there's a chance? Well, yeah, 100%, man, because Justin was just saying the same thing. You don't got to run big tires or no prep or no time or whatever to get our respect, because it's like every level of drag racing is a tough endeavor. One of the things that we've talked about here is it's like drag racing is the barrier to entry is so high. Like, I mean, it's hard. I mean, even if you're going to buy a test and tune car or a car that you drive to the track, you're still going to spend some money and you're still going to need tools and you're going to still, I mean, it's a significant investment, and you're not going to go to your local Honda dealership and finance it like you could a dirt bike, you know, for $50 for the rest of your life. And all of a sudden you're a motocross racer. Drag racing is a different deal. And I think, to be honest with you, in the past, I've looked at it as something of a problem, but in recent months, I've started to see it as an advantage. Because what we have is a premium sport. This is not for the faint of heart nor wallet, you know, and it's something that we should honestly embrace, perhaps more than we do, right? Because it's like it's a high level sport. Not just anybody can afford to do this. Not just anybody has the skill or the courage. I think something that's overlooked all the time is this stuff is gnarly. I mean, Justin's been in every sort of accident under the sun. I mean, you're risking your life out here every weekend, you know? So anyways, I do think it's an interesting thing, and I'm glad and I'm appreciative of everybody that rolls through the water and lights that bottom bulb. That's my kind of guy or gal. And you're right, Justin. I think that going back to the OG $1 million bracket race, which was the event you were talking about this past weekend in St. Louis, and you're right, 400 some odd cars, everybody pitches in essentially, and the purse is built on car count, 500 some odd $1,000. Incredible. I'm happy anytime drag racers are racing for big money, because that's what they deserve. I say it all the time. That's what they deserve to be racing for. But I understand the math behind it. And I understand it's not easy to make those things work. But it's a whole different world when you're racing for your own money versus money you could have won. Like, it's, you know, I think that I like to see those consequences high, because that's when you get the trash talk. That's when you get the emotions, because it's not just money you didn't win or points you didn't earn. It's money you had to dig out of your own pocket and hand to this guy or gal at the end of the racetrack. And that's going to get you heated. Justin, what was it like being back in that environment where you're talking trash, grabbing the mic from Willie Dog, running around like a madman, nose to nose with all these guys? You got your dad hooting and hollering behind you. I mean, was it fun to be back in the grudge scene and thrown right into the middle?
For sure. You know, to be there, and that's where it kind of, I've never been outside the car until I got Travis in the driver's seat. Travis has been the first person. I had Mike Starvinos run a couple events for me back in the day with one of my cars, but to actually own a team and operate it and have a driver being outside the car was, my first time with Travis, but I actually enjoyed it. I didn't know how I was going to enjoy it because I'm a racer. I'm tell people all the time, I am a horrible spectator when it comes to going to watch racing because I race. I want to be a part of it. I figure out how to build cars to be able to be a part of it. But I actually enjoyed it when I raced with Travis, and it allowed me to get on the mic, talk shit to people, bet money on the side, help, looking over the car or whatever. But that's where it was exciting for me. And in the Texas deal, like I said, I was very quiet the whole entire day. I didn't eat nothing all day. We were waiting for that race. We locked that race in, I believe, at like 7:00 in the afternoon because the Friday night moved over to Saturday. So we locked that race in. Usually, you know how you lock in races or you get ready to run around, you run around like in the next 45 minutes. We didn't run around until midnight. So we sat around for 5 hours and just dwelled on $100,000 grudge race. And the biggest thing is like, I had a lot of people come up to me and they're like, yeah, but hey man, I got money on you. I'm betting $100. I hope you win. And I'm like over here like, yeah, man, I hope I fucking win too. Because we got 100,000 on top of it. But it was exciting to be able to be there and be a part of it. And we're doing something even more for next year. I already got something in the plans and in the works to get something moving forward for next season. Like I said, as long as, the NPK schedule and it can all jive with itself, I'll be doing a lot of racing next year.
I'm excited, man. Bobby, hey, I wanted to tell you, thank you so much for joining us. Go ahead, man. I don't want to cut you off. We had all these technical difficulties, but I appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule to come be a part of this deal.
Well, let me say one thing, and this is to follow up on what you originally asked me about what Justin had going on with his races and his race. And all of drag racing. Let me tell you something. We can put drag racing on the internet. We can live stream it. We can put it on Fox Sports. We can put it on the big television station. But it does not do justice unless you are there at that race. When that build-up comes and I've seen Justin race at like Ducks events, and I've been at Ducks events. And let me tell you something. Live streaming does not do these races justice. Well, just like Fox Sports does not do a nitro car going down the drag strip justice. You've got to be there. And I always used to say, back in the 1980s, Mountain Motor Pro stock, when these cars would be running on Saturday night at Darlington Dragway, they've done the burnout. You got the lights, you got the smoke hanging in the air there. There is no photo and no video I could do justice of someone standing there, whether it was Shannon Jenkins and Jim Halsey running down the drag strip with flames coming out underneath the car. This is back before they had the bullhorns underneath the car, or standing there at Shuffletown Dragway when Sonny Tyndall's car driving the Gaffney Brothers Nova against Ed Hoover on a track that you couldn't even open up the doors, backing up so narrow, and you could see both doors on the cars going down the drag strip. Videos don't do this justice. You
can't,
there.
Man. No, there's nothing like being at a live event, and I think that's one of the biggest challenges that all of us in the promoter space like really have ahead of us is we got to find a way to make that product on the internet or on a live stream or whatever somehow capture the attention of the masses. And I think that again, I give all the credit in the world to Pilgrim Studios, Sam Corcus, Craig Pillion, all these guys that cooked up Street Outlaws, because I think that's the closest we've ever been to actually capturing the electricity of a drag race. But Bobby, we got to cut you loose, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I'll talk to you soon. All right.
See ya, man.
So what do you get? What can you cook up next exactly, Justin? Like, cause I don't know how to me, I am curious, like, you're busy through the end of October. So, I mean, is there a chance, like one of the things I saw your dad say that I thought was so funny, Big Country, he is the most quick-witted, one of the funniest guys in the whole gang, in the whole sport of drag racing. But he said, sometimes you got to let these guys wear that ass whipping for a little while. Is that hanging on your heart, man? Do you kind of want to make these guys just own that L for the foreseeable future? Because I think to be honest with you, I think you're perfectly that's okay. If that's what you choose to do, that's what you choose to do. Because God knows Fletcher Cox and Jason Mahalik, they want it back.
For sure. There's part of me that, like I said, that wanted to run it back right away. But then there's other parts of me where, you know, they're gonna have to hold that L for a little while, so it has a little bit of a meaning to it and a little bit of a sting to it. If you run it back immediately, that's like, it's like it happened and it never happened. Where, people are gonna talk about this for a while. And that's where I said, like, if they would have came to me that night and said, "Hey, let's run it back right now," I would have just said, "Okay, let's do it," because I'm already up the money. No different than if they would have won and I asked to run it back, they would have said, "Okay," because they're up the money. But that never happened. And then when I left the event, it was talked about, "Oh, we tried to run it back." Nobody came to me and asked if we wanted to race that race back because we would have done it immediately. And then I had to get prepared for MPK and moving forward. But as in the Grudge race, like I said, I don't know. We'll see where it plays out. I have things that I kind of I play it like chess, I guess you want to say. I got certain things that I want to do. I got certain things that I want to accomplish. I have this big old whiteboard, custom made it. It's 7 foot wide inside my shop, and it has nothing but just notes and thoughts and plans. And we have a lot of cars now, and what the game plan is going to the end of this year and going into 2025. I tell everybody I've been doing this a long time, but I'm really just now getting started. Things are starting to come together like I've always dreamed they would, and it's starting to look better for us and work out better for us, and we have more things happening. I got a team that I'm actually in the process of getting contracts situated of taking over and running for them. I got new cars coming out. I got new cars in the works. So we have a lot of stuff that's going on, and we're not going nowhere anytime soon. And my ultimate goal is to be able to have a car in every class. That's what my ultimate goal is. And sooner or later I'll get there when I would do that. And right now I have multiple cars, and I see a lot of people, they talk shit about it and have fun. Oh, he makes so many cars and then he can't focus on one. It's not about focusing on one or whatever. It's just because I like to race. I like to have fun. So I race all year long. Like, MPKs that's done at the end of October. That doesn't mean I'm done. I still have Orlando Pro Mod. You got World Series of Pro Mod. You got Bradenton. You got Pro 275. You got Grudge Racing. I mean, like, I'm gonna keep on running, keep on racing, and that's where I am trying to. Yes, I'm spending a lot of money right now trying to get everything acclimated to be able to do that. But sooner or later, it's all going to come together, and that's when I'll be able to stand up tall and say, "Yes, I told you
so." Well, hey man, at this point, we've got no room to doubt you. What was it like hearing all the? I saw some commentary whenever I mentioned Lyle Barnett, Stevie Jackson. There was obviously some big controversy last week. Specifically Stevie maybe looking to try to lock in a race with these various stipulations. You guys drive the trucks and trailers and all this stuff. Your dad clapped back. It's been pretty interesting to watch unfold, but kind of from a 30,000 foot view, does it feel good, or do you find any satisfaction in having these guys that race in other sanctions and series wanting action with you? Because I mean, I think that's one of the things that you're certainly accomplishing is, love you, hate you, somewhere in the middle. Everybody's talking about you right now.
Yeah, I made a post about it the other day where I literally sat in bed one night or the other night, and I literally said, there was people back in the day, and I have stories. I've never talked about them, and I probably would never talk about them, but there's certain select few of people out there that, I did some stuff when I was a kid, when I was getting into grudge racing, getting into class racing, that people tried to mock and laugh and make fun of. So I made a post and I said, a lot of people back in the day didn't really take me serious, didn't take my team serious. And I can tell you right now, I feel in my heart that I am up there with the elites, as in a respectable team owner, drag racing team out there. I don't care where we go. If someone wants to say my name, somebody's going to say, "Yes, I know that kid," or "Yes, I know that team." And that makes me feel, fucking awesome inside. It makes I'm happy for my guys that people know my guys, but I put my guys out there. My dad, Big Country, Big Daddy Brian, Austin, Jesse. People know them. People are coming up to them and wanting their autographs now, and that's where it's turning into, you want to be able to have a character. And me and you, we talked about this before, and some of the other sanctions out there where I've said, I think they struggle a little bit because there's really no character. Yes, there's cars, but half the time nobody even knows who's inside the car. So that's where it plays out, and it does good. But man, I can honestly say I think right now I feel like I have built a foundation, and we're not even started yet. I put myself at 15% right now. We have a lot more things coming, and I have a great team behind me. I have great sponsors behind me. I've built relationships with great people like, Mark Mickey, Noonan Race Engines, R&R Rods, Quick Performance, Proline. I still deal with Proline to this day. I mean, I just got off the phone with Eric Dillard earlier today, and, me being younger, I'm 28 years old. I mean, I could call almost anybody right now, and they would pick up the phone. I don't care if it's Sam, Wes, Eric Dillard, Steve Petty. I can call them, and that's awesome for me to feel. Is I feel like we're a respectable team. So
did you set out early on, Justin? Like at what point in your career or in this whole process? Because as you mentioned, you're a really young guy. I think I met you 10 years ago. You were 18 years old. But you, even then, before any of No Prep Kings or any of those things were on your radar, even back then, I mean, people don't remember this perhaps, but you grudge raced J.R. Gray for some cash at one of Donald Long's events, but it was also for the cover of Drag Illustrated. That was the deal I made with the two of you, is I said, whichever one of you wins this grudge race, we're putting on the cover of the magazine. I have a portrait photographer here. We're going to do the photo shoots tonight with both of you. One of you will be on the cover and go home with some cash in your pocket, and the other won't. And I feel like even way back then, when you were 18 years old, I recognized that you understood the value of celebrity, or understood the value of being known. And it's not even celebrity, but being known. I know that I teach my team and preach this all the time, that you can't be a face in the crowd. You have to be recognizable. You have to be a name that carries some sort of weight. And the only way I know really to achieve that is to put yourself out there, right? And I mean, I give you a ton of kudos because you've put it out there, good, bad, ugly, success or failure. You're not bashful about it. I talk to team owners and drivers all the time that don't want to put on anything on social unless it's that they won. Right. But that's hard for most people to relate to. But you can, that's the difference.
Yeah. And that's where it's hard for social media. I tell people all the time, I don't care even if I would have lost that grudge race, say hypothetically, I would have lost that grudge race for $100,000. I would have been the same person. I would have talked the same amount of shit on Facebook Monday morning, like everything. We went into that race knowing we were either going to win or we were going to lose. If we lost, we were okay with losing that kind of money. If we won, it's a good thing for us. And that's where, like I said, I do that with all my races. I like to have fun. I like to drag race. I like to gamble, and I'm not a greedy person. As in when it comes down to money and all that, I like to have fun. So that's where it comes to the deal. And then the celebrity status or whatever, as in I like to be able to entertain people. I felt like everybody that came to Texas for Big Jake's race was entertained. They got their money's worth at that event. Not every event do you get your money's worth to that, but what I try to do is an event that my team's going to or I'm going to, I try to make it to where it is worth it for them to come there. When they leave, they tell their friends, they tell their family, hey, we had a fun time, or hey, this exciting thing happened. When we come do it again, you got to be there. And that's how I look at it, to be able to try to help growing this, because it only helps all of us grow.
Oh, there's no doubt. The example that I always point to is I don't think the NBA would be the NBA that we know today without Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson, without Michael Jordan, without Kobe Bryant. Like, those guys transcended the sport. It wasn't just about, I mean, the reason we started Drag Illustrated 20 years ago was because, to your point, there were so many of these drivers that I grew up cheering on, but I didn't even know what they looked like. I couldn't point them out of a crowd. I didn't know how they sounded. I didn't know anything about them. All you really knew was the vinyl letters on the window, right, on the Lexan of these cars. And our goal from day one, and you can barely read them, you know, and it's like, we've got to do something about this. We've got to put faces to these names. And it does feel like it's taken a long time, but I'm seeing it's starting to happen where our sports starting to produce these big characters and these stars. I mean, the reason John Force is because he's like one of one in that circle. No one's even, I don't think, even attempted to emulate what he did and what he has done, but it's all rooted in exactly what you're talking about, whether he was on fire and upside down or wherever he was, in the back of an ambulance or in the winner's circle. He was talking about it. He was telling stories. He was posing for photos. He was doing the interviews. Can you just, before we cut you loose, Justin, can you just take us through, like, what has it been like, or what has this process been like, getting comfortable doing all that on camera stuff and putting yourself out there? Because I'm sure you get tired. Like, you're being completely cheered on in our comments here, but I see you deal with the haters and deal with these people that seem to just have determined to call you a rich kid or daddy's money or any of these various things, or find a way to hate on what you're doing, which I would believe is 100% rooted in jealousy. But what's it been like? Like, is that something that has come seemingly natural to you? Words of wisdom from your old man, or how have you gotten comfortable dealing with all that heat? Oh, there's Big Country right there.
They can't hear you. I'm on headphones.
Oh, okay.
For me, like I said, I started with YouTube. So, you know, I was doing YouTube about, I don't know, 8 months before I got on the TV scene with Street Outlaws. So talking to a camera, I did vlogging. So talking to a camera came pretty natural and pretty easy to me. Also, I'm a talkative person. I'm a people's person. I can talk to pretty much anybody, keep a conversation rolling, and be able to just express what's going on. So that's where it was easy for me to be able to do the TV stuff, to do the camera stuff. Cameras don't bother me. You know, a lot of people, and I try to tell people all the time, the best advice that I can give somebody, I talk pretty fast right now because I've been doing it a lot, but I tell people all the time, the best advice you can give anybody that's trying to get in front of a camera is to just slow down. If they slow their talking down like I'm doing right now, everything sounds normal on camera. And it always does. But then you get people that start talking fast and try to do more than what they're supposed to, and then they get to stuttering, then they get to fucking forgetting what they're talking about and all of that. So that's one thing that I try to tell people all the time whenever they're trying to talk to a camera, is to just slow down and it'll all come out normal. But
I agree.
As in the haters and all that, dude, I said this since day one. Once I reached 20,000 followers, I knew I was going to have, 200 haters out of 20,000 people. When I reach now over 200,000 followers, I'm going to have 2,000 haters. It's always going to be there. But I can tell you right now, the same people that hated on me 4 years ago are still on my pages, commenting, talking shit, doing whatever. They're still here. They're still around. I don't get rid of them. I don't block them. I don't do none of that. I don't care, because I know what I do. I know what I do when I wake up. I know what I have as a race program, how my race programs ran. I know what I do. So that's why I'm okay with that. People, I've grown up and I've dealt with that my whole life about your family's got money, you're a rich kid, blah, blah, blah. Did we live comfortable? Yes, I did. I had a very good life growing up and all that. I took my race operation up in 2019 and took it to where it is today. I've went out, I've busted my ass, I've got the sponsors, I've done what I'm supposed to do. Hell, my CPA just called me today, and we were talking about, what we can do as a business side to be able to get better with our deal. And now I'm building a new race car. So I'm building even another car now, but it's just going to be able to help out the sport in the long run. Like I said, at the end of the day, my goal is to have a car in every class, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And whenever people see that.
Are you building a car to race your other car? Are you building a car to race?
So I cooked up this idea.
Like Travis Harvey's in the car. I told Travis I'm coming to race him.
No, I mean, and I had this idea like 20 years ago. I told my dad, I said, hey, we should buy like a black rig, like a black semi rig, and build a black pro mod car or whatever, and then build a white rig and literally have the good guys and the bad guys and sell it to tracks as like a built-in, like a pro wrestling. Like, we're going to go race. It's going to be real. Like, we both want to win, but you write us one check, we'll come in and we'll put on a WWE match for you, because I sometimes there's perhaps not enough people that think the way you do right now, right? Yep. To probably get the action that you really, I'm sure you see what I see. There is an opportunity for you to be a marquee attraction. I truly believe this, man. I'm not blowing smoke. Like, I think I could give you a list of track owners that you could call right now and tell them you want to run a match race against somebody, but you need paid X amount of dollars to show up or whatever. And you're going to get it because people, you've built something that transcends right now. Our sport, they're talking about it at all levels. That race, I mean, despite all that you've accomplished, that race, that's going to be a moment that people look back on that I think sure. After things change after that race.
Yeah, they're going to continue to talk about that. And then, like I said, us, you know, I had to deal with, you know, the reason why I put Travis in the car is because I didn't know how to drive. And like I said, I don't care about what's said on the internet because at the end of the day, I'm money driven. I'm business driven. I want to do what's best for my business and for the people that are around me. Me putting Travis in the car, that was
a business move.
My deal. It was a business move. Like I tell people all the time, I am not too prideful to ask for help if I need help. I am not too prideful to get out of the car to let Travis come in. And Travis is going to continue to drive because, like I said, once something's good, there's no point in changing it. Now, there's a lot of people that are fucking scared to run Travis. So I'm going to put a car together. And I told Travis, he's just going to have to race. I mean, it's cool. It's going to be my car. It's going to be the operation. But I plan on going after him. And we're going to see if we can fucking go ahead and beat up against him or not. But,
I love it, man. So I absolutely love it.
But on the other end, it gives me another opportunity because we're going to have multiple cars in the classes. It gives us opportunities to be able to go after the money even more. You know, so doing all that. My other thing that I want to do is my ultimate goal was, and I'm getting close to it, as in, you know, that's the reason why I kind of do all these cars because sooner or later, I want to do rental operations. I want to be able. You got people that want to come in. They don't really want to put in the work. They don't want to go buy everything and service the motors. When you can get somebody that's like me that has a team that can put a team together for you, you can go run Pro 275, Radio vs. the World, Pro Mod, you know, MPK. I just sold a ride 2 weeks ago for MPK next year. So I have somebody that is going to basically fly in, drive, and fly out. And that's where it's going to help me out. But it's something I want to do because I want to have that race operation, kind of like how NASCAR, like Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, and them, they have drivers that race underneath them. And that's kind of where my goal is. And hopefully I get there. You know, I got a couple more years before everything kind of plays into fact, but we're moving forward and we're doing what we're supposed to, and it's working out pretty good.
Man, I think you got a hell of a vision, and I'm impressed by it and proud of it. Justin, thank you for joining us, dude. Sorry about all of our technical difficulties to start the show, but I'm glad we got to touch base, and I look forward to seeing you. I guess next time I'll see you is probably down here in Dallas at the No Prep Kings season finale, man. You're what, 5th in points right now?
Fourth.
Moved up to 4th. Okay.
Yeah, so we just won Vegas this past weekend. I ain't gonna lie, man. I could have had a really, really good weekend. So like, you know, I was just talking to my mom and them about it. So we were in Vegas, you know, everybody likes to gamble. So, you know, first round, I pulled the number 4 chip, right? So we ran the 4th pair. We came up the second round and I pulled the number 4 chip again. Well, then we ran third round and I pulled the number 4th chip again. Well, now we're in the semifinals and the finals, and I pulled the 4th chip out of the bucket, and it was the number 2 chip, but it was the last chip. It was the 4th chip. Won the event. We ended up in 4th place. So like all this shit's happening now, and I'm a superstitious person. Like I was just messing around with my guys, and I told them I like to play roulette, and I told them, I said, you know, fuck it, we just won $100,000. Let's go put $100,000 on number 4. And we didn't do that. That's a dumb decision to do. Guess what number it hit? It hit number 4.
You're
at the casino. It would have been $3.6 million if you'd have put $100,000 on number 4.
Golly, you need to go get like you got to go get some fresh ink. You got to go get a 4 tattoo.
It won't ever line up like that again. It won't ever line up like that again. But it was definitely an awesome feeling. Me and my guys were at the casino for that to happen. But like I was so sad because like I could have been a millionaire overnight. But it was a cool deal.
Oh my God.
I
wish that would have been this story, but the story's good enough as it is, man. Awesome. I'm glad to see you in the thick of things. As you mentioned, No Prep Kings, say what you want. I don't think the competition's ever been tougher than it is right now. We got guys that we haven't seen running at the front. We got some fresh faces that are running really well. So it's an exciting time to be a part of this type of racing. And Justin, super happy for you, man. Thank you for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
All right. Sounds good. See y'all there.
Thanks, brother. All right, guys. Hey, I want to take a quick second here and remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top quality racing safety equipment, from drag chutes and seat belts to fire suits and blankets, all 100% made in America. Log on to StroudSafety.com and make sure you tell them we sent you. Guys, we got one more guest. I want to apologize again for our technical difficulties to start the show. We may have lost Mike and JT. You know, they were giving me a hard time at the beginning of the show, but then they vanished halfway through my conversation with Bobby and Justin. But we're back. We're back, and we've got a big guest in the green room here, man, fresh off a big win, a really incredible performance. If you look at the way this young man drove, no surprise, he's had success everywhere he has roamed. Let's give it up, ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Placino. Woo! Clap. Remember you're supposed to clap when you come on.
I did.
Jeez Louise.
Hey, when you got it, check out that backdrop, man. When you got that kind of backdrop, you get the round of applause.
Holy shit.
Yeah, is that like his own applause?
Is that, yeah. It would have been so awesome if all them little guys would have just started clapping, right? Like,
that's AI. We're going to incorporate AI next time.
Are you, is that the home office, bro? Or were you at work? Where you at?
Yeah, it's the house.
Okay, man, you can't hardly beat that, Johnny. Big win this weekend, Mountain Motor Pro Stock competition in the NHRA. Big inch Pro Stock cars back on the quarter mile. More races in 2024 with potentially more on the horizon. Before we dive into the nitty gritty of your big weekend, why don't you give me the lay of the land right now? I mean, just what's your take on being back racing quarter mile? I mean, you watched your dad race quarter mile for your entire life. When you dived into Mountain Motor Pro Stock, though, the focus of big inch pro stock racing was on the Outlaw 8th Mile. I mean, the primary home for these cars was in PDRA Extreme Pro Stock. Won championships. Before that, you won a championship in Pro 632. But what do you make of this new kind of part of your career where you're back holding on to that bad boy at 200 some odd mile an hour plus?
Yeah, Mountain Motor Pro Stock really shine in the quarter mile. Those cars just look really good, going 620s, 225 miles an hour. The field is so tight. We have double the cars showing up for the amount of spots that are available. So if you look at the qualifying order here in Virginia and so forth, it's such tight racing. It fits into what I love the most, because when you have racing that tight, it puts all the onus on the driver, and that's just the best racing, if you ask me. So quarter mile has been awesome.
What do you make of you really, the thing I love watching, especially how drivers progress throughout the day, but I mean that race in the final, take us through this. John Montecalvo, a Mountain Motor Pro Stock legend, a world champion driver, has had tremendous success. New partnership with Roy Hill the last couple of seasons. We saw him jump out from behind of the wheel of his familiar Chevrolet hot rods into a Ford Mustang. I think some of us were a little bit, taken aback by that, but we'll get over it. You Ford guys, you're all right. All right. Don't get, you're okay. I'm just playing. But you go 632 with a 5 to his 632 with a 6. You're 005. He's 048. I mean, your lights throughout the day, 014 in the second round. I believe 031 in the first round against John DeFlorian. I mean, you've really defined, or what's the word? You've identified yourself as perhaps one of the best levers and most consistent drivers in the game right now. I mean, is that a personal point of pride for you to be that difference maker you were just talking about?
Yeah, that's your job when you're in the car. I mean, look, if I have a car that's within 200ths of the car next to me, I feel like it's my job to get that win. If you can get me close enough, if we're close enough, making good enough runs to be within a couple hundredths, you got to go out there and get those wins. You're racing no scrubs. I mean, John DeFlorian we qualified on the pole. John DeFlorian was our first round matchup. There's, that's a brutal one, and we both went identical 627s first round. No matter who you race in this deal right now, if they're getting in the show, they got good enough stuff to win. So it's falling on the driver a lot of the time in this deal. You got to go make clean runs. NHRA has been doing a great job at the racetrack. It's been consistent. It's all you can ask for as a racer. So yeah, it falls on the driver, and I feel better this year than I've ever felt. Not that I've felt for the other years, but just the more runs you make, and we've made a decent amount of runs this year. The more runs you make, just the more comfortable I get, and I really feel like I feel really good in the car right now.
How many, so for you guys, your schedule is a little bit of a hybrid schedule, race, a variety of different races, but I think it's safe to say that your focus has been the NHRA series in 2024. What do you like? Where do you think Mountain Motor Pro Stock stands? Like, does that help you, like, making all those runs? Because I do see some of these guys that we only see a handful of times a year, and I can't help but feel like that gives someone like you who sees the tree much more frequently a distinct advantage.
Yeah, there's no substitute for making runs. No matter what you do, you could sit home on a practice tree. I don't even have a practice tree. That doesn't really do anything for me. You got to go out and make runs. Well, in these cars, there's more than just leaving the starting line. You got to be ahead of these race cars. You have to shift well. There's a lot that goes into driving them. So there's no substitute for runs. And as far as our schedule goes, we started out the year, went to PDR, actually went to your race. We run her up there. But we went to a PDRA, the first PDRA race in Galat. We won that, decided to go to the next one, won that one, and then kind of kept going to those events. And we were the points leader there. Started out, at a semifinal finish in NHRA. We're able to win the Virginia race, took the points lead in Brainerd, but I had an injury myself in June to my hip. So I had to miss the Bristol race. So that kicked us out of the points lead for the PDRA deal. But pretty much we're going to make every race this year except for that one event. And
wow.
We're going to give it a go at both of these championships if we have the opportunity.
What's it been like being involved in the NHRA? I mean, I'm sure your dad tells you stories, and you were there, obviously, but him as a driver, like the glory days of the IHRA when you were part of this big show. What's it been like, getting welcomed into the NHRA professional drag racing fraternity?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, the fans are great. They're getting used to the cars. They ask a lot of questions. A lot of guys who come over to us and gals who come over to us just want to know the difference between us and 500 inch, and they find it really exciting. Most of them love the hood scoops being back. It brings them back to, pro stock cars that they remember in the 90s and 2000s and so forth. So, it's very similar to regular 500 inch pro stock. It's just got a little bit of a wild kick to it. So we get welcomed with open arms, and from what I've seen, they love it. And we love being out there. The fields are, like I said, extremely tight. The racing is extremely good. And we're racing against some, our team, we don't even belong racing against some of these guys that are out there, and for us to go out there and compete well against them, it feels really good. I've said it in an interview in the past. We might have the smallest team out there, or one of the smallest teams. We might be a small team, but we're not scared of anybody we race against. So to go out there and do it how we're doing, just extremely proud of my dad, my guys, and everybody associated with us.
It is, because you talk about, like, there's a slew of fresh faces in Mountain Motor Pro Stock. I'd say most specifically the arrival of Elite Motorsports in recent years, showing up with Bo Butner and his wife Randy Lynn behind the wheel. We've got some fresh faces kind of back in the mix. We're seeing, Tony Gillig, an icon in my opinion in door slammer drag racing, has done it all and seen success everywhere he's roamed, but has focused his attention on Mountain Motor Pro Stock the last several years. I actually think, what did he make it to the semis? Yeah, he made it to the semis before falling out to you. And I know you guys are dear friends, but what's it like racing against some of these guys that were your, like, heroes and stuff growing up? Because I know what it's like to kind of fall in the shadow of my father and go around to the races and be the help or whatever. But now to be the guy, I mean, and be racing against the people I just mentioned, John Montecalvo, Gillig. I think about John DeFlorian Jr., Tommy Lee, all these guys that are, like, legit big names in our sport. To be guilty by association, that's got to feel good, man.
Oh, 100%. I really, through the 2000s, my dad really wasn't racing much in the mid 2000s. I was junior dragster racing, and I always had an eye on Mountain Motor Pro Stock. John Nobile was my uncle, and he was racing it through the mid 2000s. And, I really enjoyed the IHRA days through that time, that, the Hooters days. And then they had the Knoll Gas days with Torco. And there was some really good times through the mid 2000s at IHRA. And Mountain Motor Pro Stock was a really good show. You're talking mid 20 to 28 cars at events. And it's always something I had my eye on. So, my dad kind of got the ball rolling with Mountain Motor Pro Stock in probably 07, 08, and just started. And it was just a deal where we always looked at, hey, man, if we can qualify one day, that'd be great. So to be here now in 2024, that was my 20th national event win between PDRA and NHRA. My dad's got a few, quite a few, and he's got a championship. I have a few championships, and to go out and now this year, NHRA welcomed us to the first ever Mountain Motor Pro Stock NHRA champion. That was a goal. There's only going to be one first, right? So the goal is to go out there and kind of be able to say, hey, 8th mile, quarter mile, whoever wants to come out elite, we want to be able to show that we can hang with any of these guys and compete well and beat them. So for a team like us, we pride ourselves on how we race, and it's really a team effort. It's everybody that goes in, as well as anybody, this isn't the Johnny Pulcino show. This is, my dad, my guys, the sponsors that help us, everyone who's included. It's a whole big puzzle. And if you miss one piece, it's too much competition out there for you to be successful.
Do you think that I feel like I'm hearing more and more rumblings? I mean, you mentioned your uncle, John Nobile. There's rumblings that we're going to see Vincent in a big motor car in the near future. It feels like I'm hearing more chassis builders telling me that, hey, I got a car on the jig for this guy and he wants to run Mountain Motor, or he's thinking about running a hybrid NHRA PDRA schedule. Do you feel like there's some momentum to kind of get Mountain Motor Pro Stock back? Because I would argue that there's a lot of different things we can talk about, but there has been kind of a group effort amongst this community of racers to keep things from spiraling out of control in terms of cost and the amount of testing required and all these various things. But it seems to be kind of sorting itself out, because no matter what you do, it's going to be difficult to dive in and just start at the top, but I does feel like we're making some moves back towards those 20, 24, 28 car field days. And when you think about the expense compared to some of these other classes, you could certainly go Mountain Motor Pro Stock for what some of these guys are spending elsewhere, get to go race and be a part of these big shows, NHRA, PDRA, be a professional category. I mean, do you think the class is headed in the right direction?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, once you bring it out to the quarter mile stage with the NHRA, you're gonna turn that dial up a little bit. Just no matter how you chop the cake. Once you go to quarter mile racing, you're looking at, okay, now the top horsepower cars are going to shine in the quarter mile. You can kind of crutch these things a little bit in the 8th mile to not show that as much if you're down 20, 30, 40 horsepower. So it's easier for the bigger teams and guys with horsepower to go out and shine in the quarter mile. I mean, for example, you look at right now, the points leader in the PDRA is Chris Powers. He was 0 for 4 in the NHRA events qualifying out there. And he's the points leader in the other section. So things change from 8th mile to quarter mile. It definitely turns the dial. So, but again, when you watch a Mountain Motor Pro Stock car in the quarter mile, they just shine. Vincent's already been out. He's been out to a couple of races already. They built a new car.
I knew that.
There's some other rumblings as well of some guys coming out, potentially building cars and so forth. I've heard some names that should be on the list for next year as well. So again, we welcome them all out. Again, Elite Motorsports does always push things to the next level, but we're racing against them this year, and they put their pants on just like I do.
I couldn't agree more, man. And I think sometimes that these classes need that like injection of energy, or kind of like create some tension, because no matter what level of success a team like Elite has, they're the largest sport team in drag racing. It's going to have an impact somehow, some way. It's going to have an impact. And I think that what I've seen is just a ratcheting up of the intensity across the board. I think it for me, I was proud of all the Mountain Motor Pro Stock guys that have been racing for me in Bradenton, or been, that my dad raced with in PDRA. I was excited to see them kind of be it was like guilty by association. I think it was good for the drag racing communities to see that a team that wins championships in pro stock, NHRA pro stock, is flirting with the notion of racing top fuel, also chose to have a presence in Mountain Motor Pro Stock. I mean, that's got to say something, right? That a team that is trying to build a business and continue to grow a business in the sport of drag racing sees Mountain Motor Pro Stock as an opportunity. I mean, that's kudos to everybody who's been here for a minute.
Yeah, and some of the drivers that are involved see it as a highly competitive class with a lot to offer. I mean, Bo Butner is a past NHRA world champion in 500-inch game, and he's out there racing this year full time in the mountain motor ranks. So to go against guys like that who have won NHRA championships, it says something about our class. But it's nothing that I didn't know. I know how competitive this deal is. The only thing that's kept this deal in check isn't a lack of effort. It's keeping the rules in check. You know, keeping the rules in check for all these years and not expanding bore space and cubic inch and changing the cars and things like that. That's what's kept the ETs somewhat in check and allowed guys to, buy used engines and cars and be competitive, which is great because when you don't have excess amount of cars, that's what you need. But as long as we keep the rules in check, let everybody work as hard as they want to work. At the end of the day, there's one really big piece of these cars that we should never take out of them. That's the driver. There's nothing automated in them. It's not as easy to let a clutch pedal out on time in a mountain motor car as it is, in a car with a button and even a 500-inch car. You could ask 500-inch drivers who have done both. If you're 10 in that car, you're not going to be 10 in this car. So that combined with just having to manhandle them a little bit and shift on time and all of those things, there's a big piece that the driver brings to the table, and that you can't ever substitute that. No matter how much money you put into it, that's a big piece.
And that's where the magic happens, brother. I really think that that's something that is important to exist in this sport, is that it needs to be, especially at this level, it needs to be something that not everybody can do. That's not always a welcome commentary, right? Because we are in this age of everybody wants to be able to do everything and, whatever people want to identify as dogs or what have you. And it's like it needs to be something that not everybody can do. It needs to be a challenge. It needs to be hard. And I think that that's what I see when I look at Mountain Motor Pro Stock as a class that's genuinely hard. And every weekend is kind of separating the men from the boys. Johnny, I couldn't be happier for you, man. It's been great to watch you flourish in drag racing. I can't wait to see what's next. What's JT? We maybe need to run some betting odds on what's the champ. What's the over under on Johnny Placino going champ this year? This guy's trying to make history.
I know they don't have it in the odds yet. We can make.
I know. We need to make a prop bet. Will Johnny Placino win them both? I mean, we're about to have a 2-sanction champion. We're staring down the barrel of it. Johnny, don't mean to put too much pressure on you, but you wouldn't surprise me if you did it, buddy. Congrats, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I just want to shout out my dad just for the opportunity, and always want to shout out my two biggest supporters this year, Featherlight Batteries.
What's up, Jonathan?
Just for being huge pieces of our puzzle this year. Among everybody else's, John Kazi and Ram Clutches, Hoosier Tire, everybody that helps us. Again, big puzzle pieces to what we do, and couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you guys for having me on.
Appreciate you, Johnny. See you soon, brother.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I want to take a quick second and remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Redline Synthetic Oils. Redline has a reputation with racers and hardcore enthusiasts for creating products that perform and protect better than any on the market, and they've been doing it since 1979. Whether it's your race car, your motorcycle, your tow rig, or your lawnmower, when you think about lubricants, you need to think about Redline. For more information, log on to redlineoil.com. Mike, JT, boys, it was a bumpy ride. It was a bumpy ride here for a minute, but we did get through it. A little rickety there in the beginning, but
it's fine.
All good. Me and JT were straight cruising.
I was this close.
Picked it back up. You just were going to go get a cocktail.
This close.
You
this
don't want
close,
us to do
buddy.
that.
We could have done that. We'd have run out of steam for sure. We don't have that the A-level gift of gab that you got. I'd be trying to
I'd be like Goodwin over here. Questions to ask guess,
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
yeah.
If we'd have had a little
Questions to ask
preparation,
guests.
maybe. Man, but that was
just-
great. I felt like both those guys, like you're seeing them grow up before our eyes, like 2 second-generation racers that go racing with their dad. And have you've seen them mature and grow up. You've seen Swanstrom, he's expanding, he's a businessman, he's doing this, he's doing that, and Platino winning these championships and just like so presenting himself so well. Those families have to be proud of that, and both those guys are just killing it. And it's just really cool to see that progression when you meet these guys early on, to just see them grow up in the game.
The thing that makes me like excited and get fired up for the future of our sport is how many of these, and I think the people in the comments will agree, and I'd love to hear if you guys have, let us know, like, because the coolest thing about all of this is that while we're super excited about, like, this week, Johnny Placino and his dad, John, and Justin Swanstrom and his pops, Big Country, Corey Swanstrom, the fact of the matter is there are hundreds, if not thousands, of stories like this in our sport. We've published 190 issues of Drag Illustrated magazine with dozens upon dozens, hundreds of pages, thousands of pages. And I don't feel like we have even scratched the surface of telling all the great stories that exist to be told in our space. Like, it's almost unbelievable, because you mentioned all these fathers and sons. I mean, we were just talking about Paige Coughlin racing with her dad, Brandon Pez racing with his son, Cole Pez. Like, there are so many of these that are like, there's so many opportunities for us to tell these stories and to provide a little context and get a hook in these people. Because again, I don't mean to get people up in arms, but it's worth repeating. The cars are not the stars when it comes to drag racing in 2024.
When we tell those stories in the 30 under 30, and I think that is it's a timely mention here, that 30 under 30 nominations are ending September 27th. So I think you've got 9 days left to get your nominations in for that. We've got a record number of nominations already. We're already starting to review some of those and start to try to wrap our head around that. It's quite a task for Nate and our entire editorial team, but we're already gearing up for that and are super excited going into the PRI show. I believe, what is it? We just went over our 30 to 30 press conference schedule yesterday, but maybe we'll be announcing that soon. I think we're going to be back to a bigger, better stage, a bigger room this year. So been working with the folks at PRI to accommodate this growing event that we have at the show. So that's coming down the pipeline, and get your nominations in between now and the 27th.
Yeah, you can log on to dragillustrated.com/nominate. And feel free. Like, we love hearing these stories, and it's not unusual for us to discover a dozen or more people that we quite literally have never heard of. That's the craziest thing about it, is every year when we start pouring over these thousands of nominations, there's always a slew of names that I've literally completely unaware of. And like, we've got our ear to the ground out here, folks. We're trying hard to know everything that's going on in the sport of drag racing at any given time. And I'm constantly surprised how frequently I hear a new story. I actually lined up against Brandon McGee a couple of weeks ago out at Extreme Raceway Park. He was making some shakedown runs in his hot rod, and this old boy's right beside me. And I think about, this is a guy that I've just now met, that's been doing big things for a hot minute, and I'm just now getting to know him. It's kind of a crazy thing. And that
he should have bet you for a spot.
Well, I did was make him first pass.
All
right, one more funny drag racing
first
story.
pass ever in his car.
So this is Wes's first pass ever in my car, and I'm lined up next to freaking Brandon McGee in this like essential small tire pro mod thing, right? And I was really hoping that they were going to give me a single. They did not. So I roll up and we're making a motor pass, right? And this is my first burnout in the car ever. So I do this rolling burnout and I'm belted into this thing, right? And as I coast to a stop, I look over and I hit the brakes and I reach over to grab the shifter and I can't reach it. Like, I can't reach it because I'm belted in so tight. And I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. So I bust my belts loose, lean forward, put it in rewind, hit trans brake button, back up, Anyways, and I get back to the starting line, and they're like, Brandon's, they're essentially ready to cool it off. Like, they're tired of waiting on me at this point. Waiting. My buddies are leaning in, trying to help me get my belts back on. And I'm like, just send him on a single, because you know what, man? Drag racing humbled the holy hell out of me a couple weeks ago.
like my grandma has to get something off of the counter. You know,
first thing I did was call Mark Mickey and I said, "Listen,
the grabber thing,
Mark Mickey, I want one of those badass M&M shifters on a pedestal where I can reach it," because I didn't even think about that. Brandon says I was acting like a seasoned grudge racer there, hanging him out. But no, it was completely unintentional. Completely unintentional. I'll get there because that was Jimmy Dale. Tom Gunner called me last week. He's like, "Hey, buddy, when are we going to go testing? Like, really think we need to make testing a priority." And I'm like, "Well, I'm trying, bro, but I'm trying to run a business. I got all this shit going on. We're putting on 3 races. I got 2 kids. Like, I told you I'm not going to be able to race a lot." Like, he's like, "Well, we just got to really work on your situational awareness." And if you've got someone like Jimmy Dale telling you that you need to work on your situational awareness, I said, "Bro, I've made 2 passes in the car." He's like, "Well, I need you to be in there and not care what's going on in the other lane." I said, "I get it, bro. I want that too, but it's going to take a minute." Like, he's like, "Well, I really think we need to make testing a priority. I want you to make like 100 runs in this thing so we can go bet some money." And I'm like, "Well, one thing at a time, old boy. Got to give me a little time and I'll work on my situational awareness." You know, it was just so funny. "I need you to have ice water in your veins. Doesn't matter who's over there.
That's
Frankie
a lot
Taylor, whatever." I'm like,
bro, a lot happened in those 2 runs.
Nitrous. Yeah, I mean, you may need to get your checkbook out too.
Yeah, no joke, man. It's been fun though. You know, I was literally, it's so funny because I think
be ready to get that thing back out for Stampede. What are they doing? They're doing the deal at
Cheap Street at Stampede of Speed. I don't know. I may do that. I don't know. I think that's like an invitational, and I probably don't. I don't deserve to be invited. There's plenty of local racers here in Texas that deserve the opportunity to go race at an NHRA national event way more than I do. So I don't know if I will do that or not. I just want to get back out and race a little bit. Like, I was hoping if we wouldn't keep having all these freaking tragedies in my family, I'd have more free time. But it's like I've got some stuff to take care of, and I'm hoping maybe next week I can get out and make a couple test slicks. I've been talking to Clyde Scott and Galen at Extreme Raceway Park, and I'm hoping to go out there. I need like a day. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need a day.
Don't tell anybody you're going. That's the key, man. Just take you and your crew. Don't tell anybody for 2 days. Get that shit lined out. It's like taking a day off and not telling everybody, or taking a vacation day, but not going on vacation and just staying in your house everybody and turn your phone off. Like, that's a cheat code, man. Get it right.
Lyle's right. Like, the only reason I bought a race car, only reason is to race at the gut. That's really all I want to accomplish. Like, there was a time in my life, I see Jolie Stanfield saying Wes needs to call up Richard and get me a
big goals for you, man.
Yeah, big goals for me. I hollered at Richard and we talked about it. And, you know, Richard and I go way back, and he says, "Wes, do you really want to? Because we'll make it happen." And I'm like, "Well, shit, now you put me on the spot." I did the same thing to Randy Meyer. I told Randy Meyer, that runs, you know, without question, like the most successful top alcohol dragster operation, like seemingly of all time. I shot him a text. I was like, "Hey man, I'd sure like to make some runs in that thing one day." And like 6 months later, out of the clear blue, he texts me. He's like, "Hey man, can you be in Houston this weekend?" And
do you not expect people to take you seriously on this? Because I think you did the same thing to Steve Matusik about a pro mod also. There's a pattern.
Steve and I got all the way to the dance floor. Like, we were all the way to the dance floor because we were cooking up a big thing to run a 2-car pro mod team. And I'm like, this is the deal. Like, we're going to go do this. We were really close. But I'll get there eventually. Like, if I had my druthers, I would compete in a pro mod race, because that is the greatest thing that's ever happened to mankind. Pro modified drag racing it goes fire, bread, pro mod. I think. Well,
the wheel. Yeah.
The wheel. Let's go. Let's start over again.
The wheel.
The invention of fire.
Yeah.
The invention of the wheel. Bread in loaf form.
Mozzarella sticks.
And mozzarella sticks. That rounds out the top 5. You know, that's like a mutant version of the Mount Rushmore of society, of the world. Pro mod's on there.
Rushmore.
Yeah, that's the Wes Buck Mount Rushmore. It's got 5 heads.
Essentials for life.
It's got 5 heads. You know, but there's a mozzarella stick up there. There's a pro mod car up there. There's a wheel up there. There's fire, and there's a loaf of Wonder Bread up there. Actually, what I eat is that 45 calorie.
We don't care what you eat.
Okay, never mind. But anyways, I really hope Lyle and I can bring beer money and prime time down to the gut one of these days, because they reopened last week. They got shut down by like the local county commissioner or whatever for some infractions. But they fired that bad boy up last Thursday night, been shut down for a month, and the place was jumping. I can't wait to get out there. Literally, that's the only thing. If I can go out there and make a couple licks at Yellow Belly Drag Strip outside of Dallas, Texas, I will be satisfied. I can hang up my helmet.
I see Jolie Stanfield here in the comments, and Mike got a hold of me earlier this week and said, "Hey man, check your messages." And she had messaged me and then messaged Mike, because I picked Aaron on who you got, to take the money. You didn't, Wes. You didn't pick him.
I want to pick somebody different. I didn't want us all to pick the same thing. And I did say that he's on the wave.
And she texts back like right after he won. What did I say?
And then I saw nothing phases the Aaron Stanfield. I'm like, oh shit, that's a shot right at me.
Stanfield.
You know what I mean? That's a shot right at me.
That was good money.
But you got to talk about those things. That's the thing that pisses me off about all of drag racing, is we're so afraid to talk about any of the fun stuff. Like, we got to talk about those things. We got to talk about the drama. That's why I like this stuff. I tell every time I pick up the phone and call somebody, it's like, hey man, you got anything juicy? Like, I want to hear I want the tea. That's what I want. That's what makes this whole deal fun. Lyle, if you got any juicy ones, holler at your boy, because it's like, that's what makes this whole deal fun and such a fun community to be a part of. Best people in the world, greatest sport in the world, but a whole lot of drama and gossip. And I like it a lot, guys. So, hey, thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate you. Remember to click like, click share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The Drag Illustrated YouTube. We ain't quite Justin Swanstrom. We ain't Swan Gang, but we are headed that direction, brother. So please join the family and help us spread the gospel of drag racing. Huge shout out to all of our sponsors: Stroud Safety, Redline Synthetic Oils, FlowRacing.com, Racers.club. Check out Racers Club, the biggest lifestyle brand in drag racing today. And we'll see you next week right here on the Drag Illustrated YouTube channel for the Wes Buck Show. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. Shout out Blake, and we'll see you the next time.
Later, y'all.